Ladies and gentlemen of the crypto space, I'm setting up a new stream config. I guess it automatically starts the second I start streaming. That's pretty interesting. So be it Friday, August 20th at 11:36 a.m. I'm going to try and make these more casual. Takes me a fair amount of time to set up that initial screen that I've historically done, and it's time for a little bit of a simpler process for me where I could start the stream, bam, get into it, and talkie. I posted on Twitter a little bit of the thoughts that I'm seeing. We see the frenzy on Avalanche, we see the frenzy on Solana, and we see the bullishness of what's going on with Bitcoin and Ethereum. So the markets are basically in, hey, grandma, you got to see this mode. You kind of want to tell everyone what the markets are doing. All know, well, many of us know what these markets are like. We experience them. We experienced this process, what's going on with Avalanche and Solana with Polygon. We were very early. Before Polygon, there was no other secondary market that had a frenzy of activity. Quite a different time when Polygon started to get hot. That's now long gone. Polygon had its fire. It still has its attractiveness, its protocol properties that make everyone want to interact with it. And now Avalanche and Solana are picking up steam. I think Avalanche is probably of more of interest to me, particularly because of Aave and Curve being deployed to it. And that catches my fancy in all regards. Solana is going the alternative route, meaning all the protocols like the money markets and the forex markets. Um, Connection looks horrible here, and 3,000 kbps. What a shame! What a shame! I'm gonna have to figure out what I'm gonna do about bandwidth. The bandwidth is useless. I'm gonna have to call Xfinity and yell at them. Oh, the audio is good at least. I could show you pictures. That counts for something. Cheesy, first time catching on the stream. It's a pleasure. We try and do this on a daily basis. It's not really a struggle to figure out what content to discuss. Everyone knows what I like to talk about. Um, Ellipsis throws out their cash on a weekly basis, swapped it over to CVXCRV, always nice. So while everyone's going on with their Avalanche and Solana frenzy, I sit back and relax, and I know what my play is, which is the convex play and the curve play, because curve is deploying to Avalanche. Curve will eventually be deployed from a DAO standpoint and all the major platforms as well. It's not cross chain in that regard as of yet, but the protocol themselves, Curve, is on Polygon. Curve is on Phantom. Curve is going to Avalanche. Come on. Well, why am I going to chase other protocols on these other platforms when I don't need to? Curve will do it for me. And, I want the transaction fees and I don't necessarily want to provide liquidity. And a lot of this yield chasing going on in Avalanche and Solana is liquidity, providing pairs of assets and getting incentivized returns on them. I have different interests nowadays. My mindset isn't necessarily where it was when I was playing the Polygon thing. Critical Mass is in the house. Igor's in the house. Winter in training. My man, I know. It is what it is. I do the best I can. Klaus, bandwidth at 4,000 should be sufficient for 720p. Yeah, I'm getting like 3,000 and it drops to 1,000. So thanks, Xfinity. I'm trying my best year end. Robert's in the house. Always a pleasure. 14 people in the stream, 3 likes. We can do better. Taking a peek at Bitcoin at the moment. This thing looks ready to rip with the 50 SMA cross with the 100 SMA. The 50 SMA looks like it's going to pass the 200 EMA, and the 200 SMA up here looks solid. Solid. All the markets look like this. Everything looks like this across the board. And there you look at Avalanche and the frenzy. So, you know, if I was in down here, great, make 100%. So my secondary market play that I've had for a long time is Atom, and that has been doing the exact same thing. I had Atom down here, and it's at 19. And I had it much lower. I bought Atom at like $2. So this obvious, what is Bing Bong? So that's why it doesn't have the full history. So this thing is just killing it. I mean, you guys know what's going on in Osmosis, which is obviously a Cosmos hub. I got to log into Kepler. Kepler is the Cosmos wallet. Trevor's in the house. Always a pleasure. Sorry about the stream quality. I'll see what I could do. Maybe I'll reduce my resolution or tweak my bandwidth settings for the next stream. But man, this is all airdrop. This is just like, hello, welcome to the Cosmos Hub infrastructure. Like, thank you. Here's Kepler. So my original position was just Atom. It was Cosmos. I was up at about 93 at this point. Osmos is like, hello, here you go. Here's a bunch of Osmo. Very nice. Did have a bunch of IrisNet. This was my original position, but now IrisNet is bonded assets. Staked Osmo. Yeah, my bonded assets, 50-50, is IrisNet and Osmo. So I have it in this pool. So it's 20 grand earning 260%. That's ridiculous. That's a 50 chip a year right there. Hello. That's absolutely ridiculous what's going on Cosmos. So everyone's going in the Avalanche and Solana frenzy. Meanwhile, it's everywhere. It really is. So I guess it comes back to my point of my mindset nowadays is I don't need to chase this shit. Sit back and relax. You don't need to go after Avalanche. Get some capital over there. Enjoy. It's happening with Cosmos as well, except Cosmos fits the China narrative. Avalanche, nice to see a deflationary pressure where all transaction fees are burned. Solana has the FTX component. Polygon has the India narrative. Cosmos hubs have the China narrative, as I said. I mean, all these narratives are strong. They have so much momentum. Absolutely incredible to see. So, it's, yeah, fine, maybe if you spend extra time and effort, you can find one that outperforms. But now you're heading down the road of trying to make as much capital gains as possible. You don't need to make as much money as possible. You're going to burn a hole in your stomach with an ulcer. The anxiety is going to be through the roof. You got to sell at the top, buy at the bottom, or if you're providing LP and maybe you're experiencing impermanent loss. Phantom is an alternative, and alternatives are meaningful. I think that I don't have a clear narrative with Phantom. Doesn't really fit into the narrative that I see for other platforms. Phantom, it's a dev sweetheart. You know, it's a sweetheart. Curve was on Phantom early, and Phantom is where Andre has operated for quite a bit, has done a lot of work. So it's a dev sweetheart. Maybe that's a decent narrative um, that can be applied to the Phantom ecosystem. Um, yeah, that's a decent way to describe it. Man, this bandwidth is freaking ridiculous. It's 1,800, 3,000, 4,000. It's useless. I need some satellite or something. Tired of this. So, I'm firmly comfortable with my Ethereum L1 positions. Obviously, gas is ridiculously high. I'm spending $70 on a transaction. But obviously, the capital income warrants me operating on this platform. Frax, I have a nice cash position, actually. About 30 chips sitting in Frax. Let Frax do what it does. I think the Frax narrative is ridiculous. Especially as regulators want to come down on stablecoins. A programmatic stablecoin is quite meaningful. There's been others that have tried to duplicate what Frax has done, but Frax has the liquidity. Look at this liquidity that Frax has. FXS and FRAX, both. And Abracadabra is probably catching some fire right now with their bribe system, or their allocation of capital to the bribe, modifying the curve liquidity emissions balance. So MIM is getting some decent liquidity. So I'm not deploying any capital, but with the bribe, I'm pretty much getting free spell. I'm not going to argue with free spell. Wasn't as much as I hoped it would be, but it's greater than zero. And you throw it into Abracadabra. So this is another programmatic, not really partially collateralized, it's a collateralized stablecoin. But it's I happen to like the memeage, quality memeage associated with it. Memeage is everything, and that's especially the NFT space. Trevor, all about that UINT 256 denomination. Listen, guy, oh, you see these tabs here, guys? See what I've been playing around with? And catching up on some solidity. So I don't know. I'm randomly naming it, seeing what I could come up with. So I got a coin that I'm thinking of called UBI. So, so I got a fair amount of components in place. I got to get the yield component in place. But there's one interesting thing that I'm thinking of, and it's just going to be here. Where is it? Here. I'm just going to lock this thing, meaning it's going to be completely inaccessible by me, who would deploy the contract, and it's just going to be off limits. So I'm going to craft the monetary policy, and it'll be completely inaccessible. I mean, I guess that's where I burn the address as well, so it'll be an immutable contract. And I guess if I burn the address, this is just double. This is a secondary measure that provides clarity to my intent of the contract. So not only was the address burned, but the address has no capacity to transfer any assets. That would be interesting. So it's all kept internal. So I don't know. I'm dabbling with some solidity to see what I could figure out if there's anything interesting. You guys know what I think of deflationary pressures, disinflationary pressures, incentivized supply disruption. So UBI, if I'm going to pay someone incrementing 1% interest per day in perpetuity, maybe it just keeps going. In 3 years' time, you have 1,000% yield. Um, I need to compensate with a strong deflationary pressure, a strong incentivized supply disruption. So obviously the yield is an incentivized supply disruption. People are going to remove it from circulating supply, but also a burn component. So there's been some contracts that I've been looking over that have a burn component where transfer two burns a portion of the transfer. So if you transfer one, you burn zero point 0.2. 20% of the transfer is burned. So now you're actually incentivized to not spend it. So you have to save up enough capital where 20% of whatever you transfer is going to be burned, which is an interesting thing that I haven't seen in um, many contracts. So you guys see what I'm doing here. You guys see. Klaus, what the framework will be? Well, it'll be in ERC20, and it'll be in Solidity. I'm not going to dabble into Viper for the moment. There's a very standard ERC20 implementation. Grab it some um, Open Zeppelin code to make sure it's predictable and reliable and secure, so on and so forth. All those fancy adjectives. Everything's standard in here, but we'll see. We'll see what I come up with. I have some interesting ideas. Anyway, if there's what else is on your mind, guys? Don't go into a frenzy today. You don't have to chase yield. Everyone in Discord is excited. There's a lot of reason to be excited about Avalanche. But look, why are we not equally excited about Cosmos finally picking up some steam? If you think about it, from August, that's it's up almost 80%. It's a massive rip. At the top of the loft, look, you got the guppy twist going on where the short-term moving averages move above the long-term moving averages. You made the transition from red guppies to gray guppies. Let's go back to AVAX and see how it's outperforming. There's probably some green guppies. Nope, not even green guppies at this point. Twist, short-term going above the long-term moving averages. I mean, you're not going to have any other moving averages on this chart. It's just blown past it. On the 4 hours, so we have on the daily, green guppies will catch up real quick, probably towards the beginning of next week, maybe over the weekend. Um, this could be a hell of a weekend. If this is Friday and Bitcoin and Ethereum are ripping like this, Bitcoin and Ethereum tend to outperform on the weekends. I mean, this is really where I think the meat and potatoes are, because as these ecosystems evolve, Curve will be across all of these platforms. You don't see Uniswap deploying to anything but Ethereum L1 and maybe the L2 solutions, Optimism and Arbitrum they've talked about. So they're not going for the other chains. Aave's cross-chain. Aave's been on Polygon for quite some time, and now they're going to Avalanche. So that's really what I want to do. I want to apply my capital to these protocols that are going to go cross-chain, so I don't have to go cross-chain, and I don't have to spend time moving capital around, experiencing capital gains that I have to take account. I don't want to take account. I don't want to track this shit. I want less work. I'm too old to be aping into Avalanche and Solana. Sure, there's plenty of capital to be made. I don't know about you guys, but you probably should be at work. It's the middle of the day. eFish, how much does your Discord cost? $10 a week. Keep it moderate. After party's always in Discord. We're there. Everyone's there. I mean, that's the thing. Folks may join Discord thinking they're going to find some magic secret sauce of what to buy, when to buy it. This is the last thing that we have there. What we have is a group of people that are rational. So you have ideas, you have thoughts, you post, you're going to get response and feedback, suggestions, ideas. But it's surely not a to the moon type of crowd. And that's what I always hope to create. That's why my handle is Captain Rational. And, got to keep it grounded, folks. I always wanted to do the antithesis of what the other YouTubers do. It's not about making as much capital as possible. It's about attacking the markets in a logical and reasonable way and having an understanding of the macroeconomic context so you're able to justify and rationalize a very long-term time horizon and be comfortable. A good part of what I talk about is relieving anxiety, knowing that these are volatile markets and knowing, frankly, how volatile the macroeconomic landscape is. And you really have to have a long-term time horizon. And by doing so, sure, you can have 30, 40, 50% fluctuations in the short term. But when you understand the technology at play, the scale and scope of the potential, it's quite easy to have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 year time horizon. Curve UI is just so darn ugly. Yes, trivial. UI is irrelevant. You ever go on Etherscan and operate just with the contracts? It's the contracts that matter, boys and girls, because it's not even the curve. I don't use Curve. I use platforms that consume Curve. It's not about the Curve UI. The Curve UI is trivial. Frankly, the platform that I go to see what's going on is Convex. This is Curve. You want to see Curve? Go to 1inch. You want to see Curve? Go to Maca or Paraswap. It's all Curve. It's all using Curve. The Curve UI bootstrapped the protocol in many regards. You want to interact with the Curve protocol like the pros, you go here. If it loads. And then you go over to the contracts tab and you're able to read and write to the contract. You want to write to the contract, you're going to spend some gas. You want to read from the contract, it's going to be basically free. And here's your transfer, here's your mint and burn. So I'm actually I'm not going to have mint and burn external functions in my contract. It's all going to be basically. I was thinking of an interesting strategy. Well, you notice this initial supply of 1. So a very organic process. Obviously, the initial supply, what I was thinking was this. It would be assigned to me, and I would stake it. And it would grow and grow very slowly. I don't know. Very organic emission. So, I'd probably take that one. Maybe I'll make 2. One that I'll stake, and 2, and the other one I'll put on Uniswap in like a V2 or V3 pool, and I'll pair it with like $1,000. So the one token would be worth $1,000, and people will be buying, a tenth of it, 0.05. I want to keep these numbers low. So I'm trying to craft a monetary policy, something interesting. But I don't want mint and burn. So obviously the incentivized yield for incentivized supply disruption and staking will increase supply, initial supply versus total supply. But there won't be any other way to mint. But they'll be burning. They'll be burning. Every transfer will burn 5, 10, 15, 20%. Maybe that'll be a variable percentage. And incentivize supply disruption and burn components. So that's what I'm thinking through. Anyway, Roland, you're very welcome. Thank you. Klaus, it's been a good one. It's pretty good. So a lot of things going on in my mind. After I get off this call, I got a bunch of Android code I got to write. And I'll do this when time permits. But I'm getting used to it. This nice web-based IDE directly from Ethereum org makes it pretty simple. And you have your contract templates from OpenZeppelin nowadays, and every contract is open source. You have access to countless examples on GitHub. Some of my favorites are Frax. I'll go to. You go to the Frax website, Frax contracts, or Yearn. I don't have it in bookmark history, but you go to the Yearn contracts, and you'll see they're ridiculously well structured code. But look at all these examples that how Frax does it. Lots of examples. So that's how that's going to play out. I've been goofing around with trying to automate my capital gains and taxable accounts so I don't have to pay for token tax. Yeah, the simplest way to handle tax is to stop trading it and park it. And claimable is income. So it's not even like you have to report a transaction. You literally got income. So you report that very differently than a capital gains tax. So that's food for thought in that regard, and that's really catching my fancy. Less trading, more yield. At least that's my sentiment nowadays. All right, thank you everyone for putting up with my horrible bandwidth. I'll see what I could do. Today's Friday. I wish everyone a wonderful weekend. Friday, August 20th, 12 noon. I know you guys are going back to work, but I appreciate you guys taking your time out. Keep it rational. Watch your anxiety. You don't need to chase gains. You need to be smart. You need to understand where you're deploying capital, understand how much risk you're taking. And man, come on, 60 something percent yield. What the hell am I doing spending any time doing anything? Obviously, when Aave and Curve deploy an Avalanche, sure. I got a bunch of stables that are freeing up from Frax over here. Maybe I'll throw some over to Avalanche and see what the fun is like, what the frenzy is like. But I don't really need to. I owe about 48 grand on Aave, so I have about 87 in here, so I have like 33,000 give or take in stables just sitting. But it's earning yield. Gotta love the yield that Frax throws out. That's about $1,000 a week, give or take, between this yield and VEFX has. 500, over 1,000, maybe 1,200, 1,250, $1,300 a week. Can you believe Ellipsis is still throwing out $3,000 a week? That's crazy. That's crazy. Just saying. Right. I mean, tracking my claims. That's right, Wave. Not so easy. This whole thing is a pain in the neck. Okay, I wish you guys the best. 19 people in the stream, 14 likes. We did pretty good. Friday, August 20th, 12 p.m. Wish you all a wonderful weekend. Tell everyone to subscribe. After party in the Discord, as always. See you on Monday. Peace.